clear 100 floors and kill the final boss, all while being trapped inside a death game. This is the premise of one of the most hated animes of all time. But is all the hate deserved? Or are the criticisms that the anime receives based on misconceptions? To answer this question, here is my love-hate analysis of Sword Art Online. So let's get right into it. Oh wait, hold on. First, let me give a brief rundown of the plot of the anime. In the year 2022, the main character Kirito, a young video game player, was able to be a beta tester for a virtual reality game called Sword Art Online. Upon release of the game, Kirito along with 10,000 other players became trapped and were unable to log out of the game. The game's creator, Akihiko Kaiba, presented the players with a dilemma. The only way to live is to win. Death in-game means death in the real world, and to win means to defeat the final boss on floor 100. Hell of a story idea, right? I mean, like, how could people hate this? Well, people have a lot of reasons. So, in order to talk about them, let's go over the most common ones. A is the timing of the first arc. B is Kirito is a bland character. C is that the second arc isn't good. D is that it's written for the male audience. And E, it's cool to hate on SAO. Which is lame. Okay, it's analysis time. Okay, let's address the first point. The timing of the first arc does seem rushed, but there is a reason for that. The entire idea of Sword Art Online and the first complete arc was written for a writing competition by an author who had little to no writing experience. Because of this, the timing of the story wasn't great, and the story was revised later, but still should have been longer. The author is making up for this mistake by creating Sword Art Online Progressive, which is a light novel that goes through each floor of SAO. Does that change the fact that the arc was rushed? No. But I would take it into consideration if you actually like the story, because SAO Progressive is pretty heat. The next point is that Kirito is a bland character. A lot of the common complaints I've seen about him are a bit off the mark and reliant on common misconceptions, like Kirito has no growth, or he has no personality, or he never loses. In reality, Kirito's a guy with a lot going on. We see Kirito start off as a loner who runs away from his problems, which is a flaw that sticks with him throughout the series. Whether it's from Klein and his guild, from traumatic memories of killing others, or even from the underworld when he's willing to die at Quinella's hands because he can't accept the death of a character that, if I mentioned, would be a spoiler. This instinct of prioritizing himself is something that he's only able to change after going through immense stress, like unifying the players in their hatred of him, carrying the wish of all other players to clear the game, and in particular, after the trauma of seeing his guildmates die right in front of him and going through survivor's guilt as a result. Kirito also develops a sense of justice throughout the first arc. Like in episode 1, Kirito wasn't willing to shoulder the burden of a single guild, but by the end, he's willing to risk everything to save everybody in the entire VR world. Also, the point that Kirito never loses is kind of stupid. Obviously, writers are going to tend to stray away from situations where their MC would die. Also, because it's a video game, it's almost impossible to properly convey the amount of danger a character is really in, since true injuries are never shown. For example, one of the biggest fights in the series, Kirito is literally at death's door, which he was at 3 HP, but this isn't expressed in his appearance. If it were more realistic, Kirito would be bleeding all over the place and half dead. As for people saying he's overpowered, well yeah, it's true. What do you expect out of an introvert who spends all of his time playing video games? Another point that people bring up to hate on Kirito is that he has a harem. Let me set one thing straight. SAO is not a harem anime! And if you want a full explanation debunking this, CJ's disproving the most brain-dead criticism of SAO is great. But to summarize, Kirito literally has a girlfriend/wife in Asuna. Lifa loses her connection with what she thought was her brother, but is actually her cousin, and unfortunately tries to repair the damage by getting catfished by her brother, but she doesn't want to be the incest character in the show. Lisbeth did like Kirito at one point, but she doesn't want to hurt her best friend, and has far forgotten those feelings, same as Lifa. Silica looks to Kirito as a hero for saving her and bringing her pet back to life, and she was literally like 12 when they met, so you guys are weird for that one. Sinon literally says she isn't in the state to be in a relationship, and Alice couldn't possibly like him, cause she didn't even know him that much before he became a vegetable, and she doesn't even understand herself, more or less the feelings of others. But for Eugeo? I think that's a different story, but I think his connection to Kirito is a brotherly one, His only concern is to regain the connection he had with his dear childhood friend Alice. So you guys need to stop sexualizing everything. In my personal opinion, despite his flaws, I really do like Kirito, but I believe that he was written to expose us to the world of SAO and then allow us to follow new characters. The next point of criticism that SAO gets is the second part of Season 1, also known as the Fairy Dance arc. And goddamn, I cannot defend this flaming piece of shit. Like, I know there's people that like this arc for some reason, but god, I just can't understand it. Like, I hate the fairy world, and I hate the whole concept of magic. I hate the fact Yui, a character from Ironclad, came back to life and is even more annoying than before, and her revival completely defeats the purpose of death in SAO. And I hate the fact that they made Asuna into a damsel in distress. There is no defending this arc. This arc. Hate deserved. Anyways, the next point of criticism stems from the idea that the series was made for the male audience, due to things like female characters being weakly developed, and they're only there to be saved by Kirito. I do agree with this argument, but there are some exceptions, like Alice and Best Girl Sinon. Also, this is the only correct character tier list, especially this part. I hate you. Anyways, the author has addressed how he regrets about the fact that he was unexperienced and the fact that some of his female characters were less developed and portrayed as trophies to be saved. But there are obvious improvements in the story and the development of the characters as the story continues. I've been doing YouTube for 2 months now, and I've already come so far.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video.
Oh, okay, that's enough. If people knew me from my first video on YouTube ever, I would have some regrets too. Anyways, the last point that I had was that people have made it cool to hate on SAO. In most situations, people see others hate on the series and then decide to hate it without even trying it. I mean, there's not much to say except for try it yourself. Sword Art Online is one of the first animes I've watched, so it holds a special place in my heart. Though I love the series, there are parts of it that I don't like. But what doesn't have its flaws? So, does Sword Art Online deserve all the hate it receives? Well, the answer is yes and no. In my opinion, I think it's overhated and it deserves more love. The series has become defined by the failure of the second half of the first season, but the story only gets better as it continues. Season 2 is low-key my favorite season, alicization is S tier, War for Underworld is amazing, and all the movies they've made are incredibly good. And I expect even more out of the next SAO production, Unital Ring. Anyways, what makes SAO so special is the premise of the anime. The idea of the SAO tragedy makes you feel like something like that could actually happen. When you watch the anime, it's like we are in Ironclad and you're living vicariously through the characters while also growing attachment to the characters themselves. For those who care, or anyone who is now interested in the series, here is a brief run-through of the watch order. On screen is the actual chronological order of everything that happens in the story. Though SAO does have its flaws, I always have to acknowledge how ahead of the time it was, and how the world is now starting to catch up. If you enjoyed my love-hate analysis of this roller coaster of an anime, and you want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe, and make sure you turn on notifications so you get notified every time I get on a rant about something and I spend hours recording and editing. Anyways, my name is Safukos, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.